injury attorneys at The Advocates can't actually prevent you from being in a cycling accident, they will be by your side to support you following your accident. Our legal services won't cost you a dime out of pocket. So when you need an injury attorney, call us. We're The Advocates, your Utah personal injury attorneys. You didn't deserve to be in an accident, but you do deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show. Happy Monday. Wherever you are watching the showgram this morning, appreciate you being here. Thank you. On YouTube, on Twitter, on Twitch. Why? I don't know either. On Facebook, hello. Good to be with you. We are, as always, presented by The Advocates, theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. I tell you every single day, they use empathy. They understand where you are and how you're feeling and the insecurities you're dealing with when you've been in an accident, when you riding your bike, you got hit by a car, you fell off your bike, you got hurt at work. If you get hurt at work, the workman's comp injury attorney experts are The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Hook it up. Chaplain attorney, live online, 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the morning program. Good morning, Jake. How are you?
I wouldn't know.
Okay, what happened? Okay.
You turned them down. Okay.
I did not.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah.
I did not. Good to see all of you. Let's give some love to Scottie Scheffler. How about Scottie Scheffler taking home $3.6 million for winning the Masters for the second time? Is the Masters the most difficult championship in sports to win?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely up there. I think that the people certainly don't appreciate the level of talent that these guys have to play this game. I'm a firm believer that unless you golf, you don't understand how difficult it is to go out and win this tournament. Everything from, how the greens are playing depending on the day and the weather conditions to the fact that they've had to make the course longer. And even for guys like Scottie who can drive it forever, there are still huge challenges with where the fairway bunkers are and how the course plays. And yesterday they're talking about it in the morning session while Tiger's playing, and they're talking about the fact that you can get around Augusta pretty easily if you're in the fairway off the tee, but just as soon as you decide to hit it into the trees, you're 1 over, 2 over on the hole before you know it. And I think that is the crazy part about playing that course for the Masters every single year, is that these are some of the best players in the world, in my opinion, with Scottie Scheffler. And they're still out here, grinding their ass off to put up big numbers. I mean, you're talking about guys who on any given weekend, depending on the course, can go out and shoot 20 under. You can go out and shoot. There are some weeks on the tour where the winner is 25 under. And the winner at Augusta this week is 11 under. That's pretty good, man. And I think the controversy between LIV and the PGA and Jon Rahm struggling and the LIV guys really struggling, continues the narrative that, hey, maybe wearing shorts and having 54 holes instead of 72 holes is an issue for you. Maybe it changes things.
I think that when you look at the LIV Golf controversy, I think it's a really important conversation in sports. I continue to maintain that you're not playing professional golf if you're playing 54 holes and you don't have to worry about whether you're going to make money or not. That's just not what being a professional athlete's about in the golf world. And I think we saw it this weekend, and I love all the LIV apologists who are like, oh, well, look at the top 10 is just littered with LIV golfers. Well, no, actually the top 5 had 0 LIV golfers in it. And yes, I agree. The top 10 had, I think, 3 or 4 LIV golfers in it. But let me ask you, can you tell me who the top 10 are in every Masters for the last 20 years?
Nope.
You can't. But do you know how many people can tell you every single winners of the Masters over the last 20 years? People do it all the time. It's remarkable to me that we somehow believe that playing the easy way is going to help you. I watched Bryson DeChambeau over the weekend at the Masters struggle on the greens because he does not play under this kind of pressure at any point during his regular season in LIV Golf. He just doesn't. And it's very difficult to make the argument for guys like Jon Rahm, for a guy like Sergio Garcia, who won 2 weeks ago on LIV and then missed the cut at the Masters. It's very difficult to make the argument that LIV Golf guys belong in this tournament. And I look at Joaquin Niemann, I feel terrible for the guy. Joaquin Niemann is a 27-year-old that chose LIV Golf in the easy money, and he has no route to get into the Masters. How did he get into the Masters this year? He gallivanted around the world in the weeks that LIV was off, trying to earn his way into the Masters and failed. But because he put up so much effort to get into the Masters, they gave him a special invitation, which they say is going to become increasingly difficult to do. You can't tell me that LIV Golf is competing at the same level as a PGA Tour. They have stars, but what happens to competitors when they don't have to compete?
They get fat.
They lose their edge. Yep. That's exactly right.
They get fat and happy.
They are all getting paydays. They are all just kind of going city to city playing golf. And if you don't understand the difference between LIV and the PGA Tour, this 54-hole no-cut thing, LIV Golf plays 3 rounds and everybody gets paid. And the PGA Tour, you play 4 rounds. You play 4 rounds. Not 54, you play 72 holes. That's a huge difference. And if you don't make the cut, think about it as, the top 50 players and ties. So all of the top 50 players and those tied at the cut line, let's say the cut line's +4, I think it was at the Masters or whatever. Everybody made it that was +4 or better, and all those tied. Those people got paid. Anybody that missed the cut at the Masters essentially didn't get paid.
Yeah.
You got like $10,000. Like on the PGA Tour regularly, if you do not make the cut, you do not get a penny. And you still have to pay your travel, your accommodations, and your caddy.
Yeah, and I think that's why the tour has such an edge to it. That's why the tour is the tour, because you don't have, there's no room for error. There's no like, oh, well, if I play bad this week, I'm still going to, you don't have that dynamic. And I think that's where we as golf fans and golf spectators get a little bit spoiled on the capabilities of and put Scottie aside, right? Like, he's the best golfer in the world, in my opinion. He's in rarefied air now. Let's put him aside. But like, look at the guys who typically make the cut but are never going to win the Masters, as an example. Like Colin Morikawa is a guy that regularly makes the cut and is there on Sunday, but is never in danger of winning anything. This is somebody who's going to make a ton of money over the course of his career, but isn't a star. He's a second cut guy. But again, he's figured out a way to get to a place where he makes that cut and gets to play the weekend pretty much every single week.
Yeah.
And so I look at, you look at Cam Smith, right? Like, Cam Smith's a guy who was very, very brash about the LIV situation, very, very much in your face about the LIV situation, and really was never talked about in this tournament. And that's why I say, like, I don't doubt their skill. I don't doubt their ability to go out and hit the ball around the course. I don't doubt that. But what I do doubt is when you put a LIV guy up against a tour guy who's been grinding and who has to work every single week and who can't take it for granted. The tour guy is going to win every single time.
Scottie Scheffler, number 1, $3.6 million. Ludwig Aubert, $2.1 million for second place. Tommy Fleetwood, $1 million for third. Homa Morikawa, also $1 million for fourth and fifth. After that, Cam Smith, the highest ranked LIV Golf player, finishes tied for sixth at $695,000. Then DeChambeau, also LIV Golf. Schauffele, Zalatoris, Tyrrell Hatton, newly of LIV Golf, tied for ninth. Patrick Reed tied for 12th, LIV Golf. Like, you go up and down this list and you just see those guys were never in position. And they didn't play poorly. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau is a very interesting figure in this whole conversation. Bryson DeChambeau, and I agree with you, Jake. We were talking about it in our very secretive
Homeland
security type shit kind of meeting before the show.
Yes.
It's not. And we were talking about the fact that Bryson DeChambeau had one really dominant round and then didn't make a putt the rest of the tournament.
And what did we hear about all tournament? Oh, he's got these new irons. They're 3D printed, just approved on Tuesday. Bryson's going to go out and shred the field. And so what does he do? Has this big round, and I think he shot 65 or whatever it was.
65 in round one.
And everyone's like, oh my God, Bryson's back. This guy's the sorry, Scotty, the Jesus Christ of golf. And then what happens? Then he comes back to earth, and then he realizes, oh, well, hey, by the way, it's Saturday, and I'm no longer, leading this tournament.
But what happens? That's 54 holes, right? So he takes the overnight lead. He's 65 on Thursday, 73 on Friday. Saturday, he shoots a 75. And then Sunday to finish up, he shoots a 73. And it's because he couldn't make putts.
So let me get this right. On Thursday, when there was no pressure, when you were just kind of, moving around the course.
And you were well rested. You were well rested. There was no pressure because it was early rounds at the Masters. You were fine. Saturday and Sunday, you watched him wilt.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of pressure. I look at somebody like Cameron Smith as a very interesting example here. He shoots a 71, a 1 under 71 on Sunday, which is great. Shoots a 72, a 71 on Thursday, 72 on Friday. Saturday, he shoots a 72. Very consistent, but not spectacular. Not something special.
And again, before LIV existed, this was somebody who regularly competed to win on the PGA Tour.
Every tournament. Yet you look at somebody like a Ludwig Aubert, who Sunday shoots a 69. 69.
Yeah.
Saturday, he shoots a 70, 2 under 70. Friday, a 3 under 69. Thursday, a 1 over 73. Consistently better throughout the entire tournament because he's used to playing 72 holes.
Yes.
He understands the pressure. He understands what's on the line. And that to me is the biggest difference. I, as you are aware, as we've talked about on this show for many months and years now, I despise LIV Golf. I think it is blood money. I think that it is when you're in business with the Saudis, who, as I always say, routinely cut people's heads off that they don't like.
Yep.
It's awfully difficult to sit here and just kind of say, well, we've just gotten past that. No, what we've done is we've whitewashed the terror that pays for the LIV Golf Tour. That's what we've done. Like, my guy is Brooks Koepka. He is like, I look at Brooks and I say to myself, that's a guy that I'm a little disappointed in. He showed up in this tournament, and he was not good at all. Brooks Koepka finished +9, tied for 45th, 73, 73, 76, 75. The terrible tournament. John Rahm, tied for 45th, 73, 76, 72, 76.
And he's the one that
76.
He's the one that I look at and I say, dude, like, I understand that last year you won the Masters. I get it. Totally understand. That doesn't excuse this performance this year. I look at that and I say, you weren't even competitive. You look like a guy who just wasn't here for it. And that's really, that's really what stands out to me about guys like Scottie and Aubert and, like all these guys, like, they're ready, they're calm, they're cool, collected. And I know that, Scottie himself gets a lot of heat because, in the post game, he's like, yeah, dude, like, I don't feel a ton of pressure. Like, the moment's not too big for me because my victory, is on the cross. Okay. Those are his beliefs, whether you like that or not. That him saying that doesn't really bother me. I attribute it to the fact that he knows he's the best golfer in the world. He's prepared. He understands the moment. He's been here before. This is no different than a quarterback having won the Super Bowl before, than LeBron taking the last shot in Game 7. Like, it's the same thing, dude. Once you know like Tiger talked about it, man. Did you guys hear what Tiger said after his round was done yesterday? He said, it really helped me that I knew this course in terms of preparing to play. I know Augusta. I know where I need to be and where not to be. And he goes, with Valhalla and the stuff coming up, I'm really going to have to go out and study these courses. Do you think it doesn't make a difference that that Scottie has won this thing before and plays on the tour every single week? That's what bothers me about these LIV guys. You thought that you could just go and take the money and it'd be easy and everything would be fine. And then what happens? You come back into the fire and all of a sudden, and by the way, I might add, you come back into the fire in a very controversial way. A lot of people think the LIV guys shouldn't even be playing in this tournament.
Look at Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
Dustin Johnson, I think, has suffered the most as far as anonymity now. He is invisible. I don't think Dustin Johnson is relevant on the world golf stage anymore. He shot a 78 and a 79 at the Masters.
Yeah, because I don't think that Dustin Johnson cares to be relevant. I think in Full Swing, the Netflix series, he talks all about how yeah, man, I just wanted the money and I love the lifestyle and I've got more time to to be on my yacht and my boat, and like, so I don't think that a guy like Dustin Johnson really even frankly cares. I literally don't. Like, obviously as a pro golfer, you want to make the cut at the Masters, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't think
you're not doing that, shooting a 78 and a 79.
Like, I don't think this guy is like living and dying on it. And so for the golfers like DJ and like Sergio Garcia, the little bit, guys who are a touch older, they're not that new young cut of golfer right now. Like, these guys have been there and done that. So I think for them, like, it's not as big a deal. But again, for dudes like John Rahm, there is no getting away from it, bro. There is no putting it down or like storytelling it away. You went to LIV, you lost your edge, and now you're not the same guy.
Is the Masters the most difficult championship to win in sports? I mean, obviously the contenders are the Stanley Cup, which I think is arguably the most difficult championship to win in sports. I think I don't think anything else even compares between the Stanley Cup and the Masters. I think those two are the most difficult, especially in individual sports, which obviously, is different than the NHL. But I just think in difficulty on scale, I think the Masters and the Stanley Cup are the two most difficult.
Well, I mean, I think they're, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously, the Super Bowl is going to be there. I
but
think
the Super Bowl, you can relatively chart a course to win a Super Bowl. You have to have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL,
right?
On average, on the regular.
Yeah,
you have to have a really good quarterback, and you have to have a better than par defense,
right?
To me, there's a blueprint. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs,
right?
You look at Tom Brady and the Patriots. That's the blueprint in the NFL. I look at the World Series. You got to have better pitching than everybody else to win. There's a blueprint to ascend the scale in baseball.
I would say it's fair. Yeah.
There's a blueprint to ascend the scale in the NBA. You have to have two of the best players in the NBA in your starting five. If you do that, you're likely going to compete for a championship.
Yeah.
Right? At the Masters, you can be the best players in the world. Look at how many guys missed the cut.
Well, and I think you look at the other thing that NBA players don't have to deal with is conditions, right? Like I think the wind. And again, this is kind of my point about, like, if you don't golf, you don't understand this, or you don't appreciate it to its fullest extent. Having to play in that type of wind on Thursday and Friday is absolutely insane. And that's again, I didn't roll up to the show today thinking I was going to rip John Rahm a lot, but that was the other thing that bothered me about John Rahm. You're out here complaining about the fact that, like, we shouldn't have been playing, and it was so windy that the ball was being blown around the green. It's like, dude, like, this is the Masters, dude. We're not turning this thing off for anything but rain and lightning, bro. Like, like, you're gonna deal with the wind. And so to me, what's the hardest one to win in sports? Yeah, the Masters has to be there, 100%.
Has to be.
It has to be there, because I don't think there's necessarily a blueprint to go out and win the Masters. You can be the best player in the world and be 10 over and miss the cut. And that's why I have such an appreciation for what Scottie does, because he didn't take the money. He's all about his family and his beliefs, and he's just out here playing his game. And yeah, it is different. Like, notice that his swing is one of the most unorthodox things you've seen in golf. Yet this guy has the best ball striking stats. He's got the best, tee to green stats. Like, he's got all these great things. And so that's why I say, yeah, golf is got to be one of the hardest sports that we have.
Yeah,
to watch.
Dude, I think and you're either a golf guy or you're not. There's no in between. And usually guys that are golf guys are guys that play. And if you play golf on the regular, you're probably watching golf as well. And I think the explosion of golf over the last several years in this country, I think shows you that it is definitely on the rise. I think all day long I'm taking really it's the Masters or the toughest tournament in golf to win. The Open Championship, because of the conditions, usually the Open Championship or the Masters.
Yeah.
I think the Masters, because everybody wants.
The stage at the Masters is bigger, in my opinion. Like, yes, the Open Championship is probably more difficult because you're overseas. It's wide open, golf. Like, it's different. It has its unique set of challenges, no question about it. But I just like I guess in the comments, the Masters itself, that has to be a tournament that you as a non-golf fan are like, yeah, it's the Masters. I should probably flip that on. It's Sunday at 2:00.
Yeah.
And you're dreading Monday coming for you. And you're like, yeah, dude, let's turn on the Masters and have 5 minutes of enjoyment here.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'm going to stick and stay on the Masters and the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I think those are the two most difficult because there really isn't a tried and true formula to building a dynasty in hockey. Obviously, you have to have generational talent, but to win the Masters, you have to have generational talent.
You do.
And obviously Scottie does. But I look at the Edmonton Oilers. You have generational talent there and you don't win.
Yeah.
Right. I think hockey's so different.
I think a lot of people might go to the UFC as a comparison because it's an individual sport. And I think that's an interesting comparison when you think about, hey, it's you versus the other guy. I don't know. As a golf person, I would say the Masters is on its own thing in terms of difficulty, in terms of, just how hard it is to do what these guys do. It is not easy. So I'm in Tempe over the weekend. My girlfriend asked me, what does a caddy do? What does a caddy really do for the golfer? Because Scottie Scheffler's caddy has made, I think it was $1.5 million. It was either from this tournament or over the season. I can't remember the stat.
Over the season.
He's made a load of, over the season. He's made a bunch of money because obviously Scottie's doing all this winning. And I was explaining, dude, the caddy, it's the caddy's job to tell you the type of shot you need to hit and where to hit it.
The caddy is your therapist.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 of these guys, do you know what a caddy does? Here's what a caddy does. It carries your bag, number one. Number two, no matter where you are on the golf course, the caddy is expected to know the number. So how far am I from the hole? If I am here, okay, the hardest part for a golfer is, okay, I have a club in my hand. Which way's the wind blowing and what's the ball going to do when it hits the green? That's what you're conversating about constantly. When you get to the green, most times, most professional golfers don't want to talk about the break or reading, or most professional golfers believe putting is different. You need to be able to have that in your mind and do that on your own, right? But caddies, absolutely, positively, their number one job is to keep you level and keep you grounded, right? And I thought it was really cool that he was able to put his caddy up front and let him walk to the scorer's cabin alone, kind of holding the flag yesterday. I thought Scottie did a great job with that. But having said that, it's why I believe truly that golf is one of the most unique setups in sports, because talent does not always win. The most talented does not always win in golf. There's so much to it. I don't know. All right, let's get your thoughts. The hardest in the comment section. hit the like button. The hardest championship to win in your mind. What is the most difficult championship in sports to win? Wow, look at that. OG Gary, first one in this morning.
Wow.
Dudes.
Wow.
Gary, good to see you. Mike Smith, Manic Monday, hit that like button. Yeah, I would also remind you, we're 2 weeks away from the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And can we start telling the truth at some point about Free Harbaugh and the fact that he's not an NFL quarterback? I hope at some point
I look forward to him wrecking an organization.
Pete Forte, good morning. Hello. OG Gary, it's April. People still care about men's college basketball. Did you see what happened at Rupp Arena? We're going to talk about that coming up in about 10 minutes. Did you see what happened at Rupp Arena over the weekend? Are you kidding me? Eric Wasikowski. OJ can finally rest knowing Nicole's killer is finally dead. Well, at least you stole everybody's line from over the weekend.
Hey, X-World is me, yours truly.
Dakota Tubbs, it sucks being sick. At least I have good old Monty to tell me how average it is to see me.
Hey, Monty.
Hey, Monty. Caps Lock Friday Coug. Good morning. Kentucky had a party in the arena for a new coach.
Yes, they did.
It's one of the most unbelievable scenes I think I've ever seen. Mr. Preston, hello. Good morning, sir. Good to see you. Giggity. BYU may have lost their coach, but at least they'll always have their beloved Cougar tails. Can't disagree with that. Mike Chase, spelled Mikkel, pronounced Mike. Congrats to Coach Pope. Hopefully we can get another good coach. Happy Monday, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
Anybody else remember Mark Pope doing a Kentucky hype video at center court at the Marriott Center on Friday when he took that job? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Not sure I'd have done that.
Yeah.
Not sure how I would have.
Look slick.
I don't think I would have done that. Let's see. Noel Ramirez. People like to talk about how they play golf more than they actually play it. What does that mean? I don't understand what that means. Let's see. Rick Forrester says Z. Well, I mean, you have choices, Rick.
Yeah.
This is what always happens with golf. We talk about golf, 3 times, maybe a year? And you always get the golf hater who's like, golf sucks, it's boring. It's because you don't understand it.
Yeah.
And as I said, if you don't play golf, generally, you don't understand, you don't think it's difficult, and you don't, like, you think that, and Rick, I'm not talking about you specifically, but people who don't like golf and think it's easy, think, oh, well, we got to talk football, bro. Do you understand? You don't understand.
You understand that football is an easier game than golf?
He also says nobody cares. What's the number one emerging sport in this country?
Golf. Why?
Nobody cares.
Why is it the number one emerging sport in this country, in my opinion? Because it's not a physical game like football is. It's a physical game in terms of walking and being out in the sun, and like there's some physicality to it. Sure, your body gets tired, but you're not having to worry about brain damage. You're not having to worry about, breaking your leg. Like the romanticizing of getting hit repeatedly on a football field has come to an end. And I think people realize, hey, if I can start my kid at 5 years old or less with a golf club, they're going to have a great chance of doing something.
The ESPN's 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Thursday coverage of the Masters, a Thursday afternoon in April, drew 3.1 million viewers and was the most watched cable program of the day. 3 million viewers on a Thursday.
Yeah.
On ESPN, on cable.
I do have to say, by the way, I actually was watching the Masters yesterday, and I was like, there's just like ESPN's coverage was good, but it didn't, like, you guys remember 2 years ago when it was on, there was a whole controversy that CBS was piping in fake bird noises and they made it look greener than it actually is. And they really pumped up the beauty of the course. I was watching ESPN's coverage and I was like, yeah, you know what? I actually appreciate that CBS did that.
They don't pipe in.
They
don't pipe in.
Well, I thought that was the whole thing with CBS a couple years ago.
No, they do not pipe in the nature sounds. What they do is they put microphones in the trees at the Masters. People think that that's like fake bird and nature sounds. It's not. They actually put microphones in the trees and in the natural areas so that you hear it. That's not fake bird noises. It's real bird noises. They just amplify it. So anyway, that was an interesting argument on Saturday at the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
And they do not pipe in fake bird noises for all of you, you know. James says Monty loves golf, so let him have his fun. Hey.
Dude, it's not about loving golf, bro. It's the Masters. It's one of the best sporting events of the year.
Yeah. And Rick, honestly, oh my God, a 76. Can we talk about cricket? If you don't like golf, you don't have to watch
out
today.
Of here, dude.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. Jeremiah Champion, our newest member.
Sorry, I was over here looking for sporting sounds here. Okay. There you go. All right.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Always good to see you. I think it's wild to me that you don't. Why is it that people hate golf so much?
Yeah,
I really struggle with this. I don't understand. Why do you hate golf so much? That's what I don't get. Giggity. J2H doesn't play with a caddy because he always knows how far it is to the hole. He is an expert of holes.
Yeah.
Why are you playing that?
Because he's a member for 13 months?
No, he's not. He's a member for 15
Okay,
months.
15 months.
If you could get that right. I am somebody that, yes, I play a lot of golf, but I think golf is one of the most popular sports in this country. And I think the ratings display that when you're getting 3 million people watching a Thursday round at the Masters, that's a huge number. That is a huge, huge number. But that's just me. Tennis is harder than golf to win. No, I totally disagree.
Yeah, it's not. No.
You have a group of why do you always have one dominant player in tennis? Why? Why is there Roger Federer? Why is there I've told you in the past I'm never going to say anti-vaxxer's name on the show again, which I won't. Right? But I look at tennis. Tennis is a tiny segment of sport, and you have one dominant guy that generally goes on for a decade.
And I could be wrong, but I highly doubt tennis is getting 3 million views on a Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah. And it could be harder than golf to win. I disagree. I think the problem with winning in golf is anybody can win on a given day. It's very difficult. The reason it's so hard to win at golf, you've got to do it for 4 straight days, walking miles.
And what are we even talking
in
about?
Hot weather?
You don't even have to deal with conditions really in tennis. I mean, sure,
not anymore. Yeah,
like you're not, but you're not dealing with wind that's different where you're standing than it is 300 yards away. You're not dealing with the undulation of the ground. You're not dealing with how hard the ground is here versus there. Like, what do you mean tennis is harder to win? Yeah, sure. Tennis is a different sport than golf, and it's physically demanding in different ways. But I would tend to agree.
I do love playing tennis.
Yeah, like I why do you think pickleball is so big? Because tennis is way harder than pickleball. Pickleball is a raging thing right now because it's easier.
Everybody can play.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's it's wiffle ball in the backyard.
It really
what I
is.
mean? Like that's why pickleball is so big.
It really is.
And still, Rick, I'm waiting for the answer to why you hate golf. So instead of trying to compare it to
I
other
don't
sports,
understand it.
Why do you hate golf?
I don't understand the hate for golf. I really do not. Let's see. George Hare. Good morning, George. Good to see you. Good morning. I think the Stanley Cup is the hardest. I tend to agree with that.
Yeah, and I can respect that take. I mean, I think that generally speaking, people undervalue hockey for its violent nature. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, hockey, in my opinion, is more physical than football. Like, the beating those guys take is pretty crazy.
Noel says, thought pickleball was the fastest growing sport. One of. But you look at the pickleball is the new emerging sport. You look at golf in the last, I would say 5 to 7 years, the explosion of golf. I mean, you have a scandal in Los Angeles where you had brokers sucking up all the tee times, allegedly paying bribes inside of the golf community to have early access to tee times. Why do you think that is? Because people were paying hundreds of dollars to play your shitty muni down the street. That's how popular golf is. That's the difference with golf and pickleball. Is you look at pickleball, I think pickleball is more accessible. It's certainly more affordable. And your grandma's friends don't sit around a knitting circle anymore. They're out playing pickleball.
Yeah.
I think that's
the
difference.
Great. Which is great. I love that about pickleball.
Yeah. Dakota Tubbs, I thought that fighting in the comments section was the fastest growing sport globally. I believe it is. Thank you for correcting me. I appreciate that. UW fan Jim, 3.1 million nobodies. Go figure. Exactly. Nobody watches golf.
Right.
Nobody. The toughest opponent that you have to beat on the golf course is your own self-doubt. My God, isn't that the truth?
Which, again, though, is what you can't see when you watch golf. Unless you golf, then you can see guys. Like, if you golf, you can see the body language of the guy and say, yeah, he's grinding right now. You understand what's happening.
Yes. Noel, I would say free climbing is harder.
Free climbing.
Dude.
Be better, dude.
The crowd always going crazy for Tiger is fun to watch. Also, Kentucky went crazy for Mark Pope. I would agree. I would agree. You know. OG Gary, cricket is gas. T20 is probably the best form of it. Okay. I'll take your word for that.
But again, let me point this out. No cricket broadcast in our country anyway is getting 3.1 million views on a Thursday.
In the middle of the workday.
Just pointing that out.
Not going to happen. UW fan Jim, Dogs, Seahawks, Sonics, even the Storm have titles, but as an M's fan, I have to say baseball. How are you an M's fan? Mike Smith, you just don't like tennis as much because you don't understand it. That must be it. Yeah. I actually don't watch tennis. I miss playing tennis. We used to play a couple times a week when we lived in San Francisco. We had a court right down the street from our house. We go. I loved it. Great exercise. Now I play golf instead. RJC Loner phone.
Okay.
Let's see. Insecure people mock golf. Most never played the game as a result. I tend to agree with that. I warn you that you will be humbled playing golf. It is Friday. I played the best golf. Honest to God, I played the best 9 I've played in at least a year. Saturday, I was atrocious. Could not hit a golf ball. It was unbelievable. Those are rookie numbers. They need Caitlin Clark at the Masters.
Facts.
She was terrible.
She actually has a good golf swing, too.
She was terrible on Saturday Night Live. Terrible. It was awful. Trying to win an international cornhole championship. Yes, now we're comparing it to cornhole. Comparing tennis to golf is like comparing a wireless mouse to TV. Stop it. I would tend to agree with that. I think it's a completely different sport. James says, I don't hate golf, but considering that Mark Cook, why can't we talk about both? I think that's more relevant to sports fans in Utah. Well, our new program director.
Man.
Oak State James.
Tanner, I'm going to need you to set up a meeting, dude.
Matt Ritson, how about bowling? Hard to get perfect 300 or 710 pins for spares.
Okay, I don't mind bowling. I don't mind the bowling comparison. Individual sport, right?
I've almost bowled a 300 several times. Could never, ever. I don't know that I'll ever have a hole in one. I don't think so. Could be wrong. I don't think so.
I would still say, though, that golf is probably harder because of the elements. In bowling, again, you're inside. The conditions are the same every time. It really comes down to your ability to spin the ball.
You get to warm up on the lanes that you're going to play.
Yeah. You don't get to do that in golf.
Although, again, another thing I miss, being in a bowling league. Being in a bowling league was enjoyable. Mike Smith, just because someone does not care to watch golf or find it boring doesn't mean they hate it. Oh, no. Oh, you can tell by the vitriol in certain comments. You know immediately the people that hate golf.
Yeah.
It's the curling comments or
golf is stupid. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Yes. I would agree with that. The America's Cup is extraordinarily difficult to win. I would agree. And I think there's others out there. I think the European Championship of soccer, the Euros.
Mm.
I think the World Cup is incredibly difficult to win. I think there are a lot of competitions. Mike talking about people that mock it. Yeah, seriously. Winning the Triple Crown is harder. Well, those are horses. Those are horses. So I'm not necessarily going to compare horses to, you know, I think it's completely different.
Yeah.
Rick Forster, perfect example, wanting to compare horses competing to human beings competing.
Yeah.
Rick hates golf, which is fine. Chad Carter, I wish I could play golf based on how folks talk about it. It's probably great, but I can't drive worth a damn. It requires an extraordinary amount of work. I probably have a golf club in my hand 6 days a week, and I'm not very good at golf. I'm not. Noel Ramirez, the reason I don't like golf is because it has become so bougie. And like I said, people like to talk about how they play golf more than they actually play it.
Well,
Okay.
what I would tell you though is from that standpoint, what is it? Noel?
Yeah. Noel Ramirez.
Yeah, from that standpoint, I think it's much like anything else. It depends who you talk to, because I don't view golf as a bougie thing. I think that when you watch professionals play, yeah, they live a bougie lifestyle. They're professionals.
They're multimillionaires.
But when you bring it down to like the everyday Joe, I think there's a beauty in the fact that, hey, like your average 9-to-5 golfer has a 9-to-5 job, has a family, can practice twice a week, and plays once on the weekend. That's the average guy. And there's an appreciation for how difficult it is to play well when you only get to practice twice a week.
And I would agree that golf is expensive. The entry point financially for golf is fucking crazy. It is. If you want your own clubs, you're probably at least $1,000 if you buy used clubs. If you want to do it the right way, and you buy, like I am, $5,000 into golf clubs. I just bought an $800 rangefinder about 6 months ago. I just bought a $600 launch monitor. I'm about to spend thousands of dollars to have turf put in my backyard. Like, it's an expensive sport. It is an expensive sport.
But I still maintain there is nothing more beautiful than a nice golf shot.
Yeah, and I am not somebody who can compete and be shitty at something. If I'm going to do something, whether it's work, whether it's life, rec basketball or rec golf, I'm going to try and be really good at it, or I probably won't do it. San Diego State, Glenn, I spent 2 years in high school living in Augusta and many more growing up in Monterey Bay, and never appreciated golf until my college years. Go figure.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, for me personally, I didn't appreciate golf the way I do now until I started playing, because I haven't played golf my whole life. I've only been really golfing the last year, maybe less than that. Like, until you play golf, I'm telling you, you can't appreciate what these guys do.
No.
Like, why do you think football is the #1 sport in our country? Because I can go out to the yard and throw a football around. And so you can understand
reasonably.
It's not that difficult. It's an easy sport. You're running around and catching a ball.
Baseball. Because we all played baseball in the backyard.
Yeah. Basketball. Why?
Because we all played basketball
on
the
soccer the #1 global sport? Because anybody in any country can kick a ball around the street.
Or a facsimile of a soccer ball.
Yeah. Right? Like, cool.
You can use a basketball as a soccer ball.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. I think the issue with golf is that people don't appreciate it, and you especially can't understand how truly just incredible Scottie Scheffler is at what he does based on the way he does it, unless you try to hit a golf ball.
And the only thing I can explain for myself personally is Friday night at one of our local courses, I hit a great iron shot. Saturday, I could not hit a iron shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you explain that. And it's chasing that every swing perfection that just eats you up. Dakota, I've tried cricket. I simply don't get it. Is it a difficult sport to comprehend? I think cricket is Cricket is a fascinating show. You know, the sport that's really fascinating to me is rugby, because it's just an ass kicking. Why do you play rugby? It hurts. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
That's the other thing I love about golf, dude. It is truly, there's nothing like being on a golf course when the weather's good. Like cool, sunny, breezy.
There is nothing like hitting a great iron shot and watching that ball in the air. Nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I don't even know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
Because I probably take it for granted. I hit my driver pretty well right now. When I hit a good iron shot, man, that feels good.
And that's the thing with golf. When you hit the ball well, right when you hit it, you're like, yep, that's going to be a good one. And you look up and you're like, yep, it's on line where I wanted it to be. It's going where I want it to go. And then it lands where you want it to land. And you're like, man, that felt good.
Golf is frustrating. Giggity, chasing that perfect shot is an addiction. Yes, it is. UW fan Jim, not sure if this is apples to apples, but Olympic gold is truly the best in the world. Okay.
Interesting conversation. Yeah.
RJC loaner phone. Love bowling, not golf. Okay. Serious comment. The triple crown of racing is incredibly difficult. Trying to win Le Mans, Indy, and the Monaco GP. Pretty much unheard of. Yeah.
Again, I would point out, though, this is my only thing with racing that I think excludes it from being compared to golf.
It's a team sport.
It's a team sport. And
It's a
nobody
team sport.
wants
and
to
a motor.
Dude, everybody wants to say, oh, well, it's just the driver in the car. So doesn't that mean it's an individual sport? No, it doesn't. You've got a pit crew. So actually, let me generalize it more. You've got your race day staff, the folks that are at the track helping you. And then you've got a whole production team behind the scenes that nobody talks about or ever sees at a factory who are helping build a race car and a motor and all that stuff. So yes, while you're physically driving the car down the track, is it an individual sport? Sure. But that's a team sport, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just me. But anyway, I love the Masters. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was spectacular. And
Tiger, by the way, before we get off of this, Tiger deserves a lot of credit for making the cut. I know everyone was like, oh, he's going to win. He was never going to win. But making the cut, showing that he can still play a full slate of golf on a weekend was great to see. And I do feel like he's still in the comeback phase.
Yeah. I don't know if he ever gets out of the comeback phase. I did not take him on Prize Picks this weekend, thankfully, because he was terrible Saturday and Sunday. PrizePicks.com, the official daily fantasy partner of the Monty Show. Although your boy did have a good weekend on Prize Picks. 3 for 3 at the Masters on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app, use the promo code Monty. And I basically on Thursday had Woods, McIlroy, and Thomas. They won me 56-25.
Yeah.
On Saturday, and thankfully I made a big change Saturday. Saturday, I went with I'm a big Max Homa fan. So I went with Max Homa. He did pretty good, right? Like he was in a good spot.
Yes.
Scottie Scheffler, I took a demon on Scottie Scheffler.
Dude, why are you taking a demon with a Jesus supporter, bro?
In God's name, image,
I mean,
and
come
likeness.
on now.
I took a demon. And it worked out pretty well. I was happy with it. And I took DeChambeau.
Damn.
Won $67. And then yesterday I went with the top 3. I took Scotty, I took Homa, and I took Obra.
Yeah.
And it worked out great.
Excellent.
So I had almost $200 in winnings over the weekend on Prize Picks. It's freaking phenomenal.
Let's go, baby.
You guys knock it down. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty, MONTY. Monty to get 100% deposit matching. That means you put in $50, they'll put in $50. You put in $5, they'll put in $5. And trust me when I say any amount you want to deposit is freaking phenomenal on baseball, because you can play baseball all weekend long. Anybody notice, speaking of baseball and gambling, Shohei Otani's, where's the other 25 million? Like they did the prosecution of Ime, you thief guy. Over the weekend, I thought it was interesting. They released some charging documents. They can't account for all the money that was stolen out of Shohei Otani's account. And I'm going to sit here again and tell you, Shohei Otani, in my opinion, was gambling. There's no way around it. We can keep sitting here and saying, Ime Ekpe Udoka Azubuike,
the bookie guy.
Yeah, the thief.
Yeah.
We can sit here and say that Shohei Otani's former interpreter stole money from Shohei. I don't necessarily believe that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think that Otani is quickly becoming a huge problem for Major League Baseball in the sense that he is their white knight, right? He is their savior right now. And the idea that he's wrapped up in a gambling situation is absolutely crushing.
I don't know what you do because I think it's $27 million in total is unaccounted for. That he didn't, because you guys understand this guy bet hundreds of millions of dollars. This interpreter with this bookie, I think it's $182 million. So it wasn't that he stole $14.5 million or whatever that number was. You understand he bet $182 million with this bookie. And you think he just siphoned that money off of Shohei Otani? Come on.
We're a little past Otani didn't see the withdrawals, bro. Come on. Come on, dude.
Come on. Like, who are we kidding? They're going to sweep it under the rug. There's no way they come down on him. I think the sport couldn't. The scandal, can you imagine Shohei Otani being suspended a year for gambling and Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
I think that's a singular reason that they're not going to hammer Otani because you don't have another star behind him, in my opinion, as well. This was a very interesting conversation the other day. Do you have another star the caliber of Shohei Otani to replace him if you suspended him a year?
No. Some people might be like, oh, well, Bryce or Mike Trout or any of these other dudes.
Nope.
And I'm just sitting here telling you, Bryce Harper does not have the pull on the Pacific Rim that Shohei Otani has. It's just not in dispute. The guy is a global star.
I just don't. You're never going to convince me that Shohei Otani didn't bet on baseball.
Yeah, and I think that all the behavior, the way everything's gone down, supports that. I think that everything from the fact that they didn't take questions in the press conference they did. We haven't really heard word one from Rob Manfred on anything. Like, everybody's being quiet about everything. And what did Dave Roberts say? Oh, well, I'm just looking forward to moving on and focusing on baseball.
I'm sure you are.
I'm sure you are, Dave.
You might want to find a center fielder who knows how to play, I don't know, center field at Dodger Stadium. I think it is really interesting that people are just giving Shohei Otani the benefit of the doubt.
And you know why that is? Because everybody loves him. Everybody's like, oh, this guy is amazing and he's the nicest guy. And I'm telling you, we don't know this guy.
He did a video, or he was asked about his shoes. I don't know what the form was. We're talking about his shoes, and you're not going to ask him about the gambling thing? Come on, guy. Be better than that. Be better than Mark Pope. He's a good dude. But this video that he did at the Marriott Center, and the way that he went out the door at BYU is going to haunt him, because I think he did himself. And I'm interested to see what you guys think. We can't play you the video, but I'm interested to see what you guys think about this Mark Pope situation at Kentucky. Now, obviously, Mr. Pope was a home run hire for Kentucky. He is an alumni there. They have been trying to bring him back to the program as an assistant for several opportunities, but he was always a rising star in the head coaching circles, so he wasn't available. You fire Calipari, you can't get Drew from Baylor, so you hired Mark Pope. And I think he's hit a home run. If you look at the way, and we're going to show you some video in a minute, but if you look at the way that they handled things at Rupp Arena for his introductory press conference, that is wild how many people showed up for that. Social media influencers, news reporters, alumni, fans, boosters, recruits. We're all at Rupp Arena this weekend to meet Mark Pope. the new basketball coach at Kentucky. And as somebody that covers BYU basketball on a pretty regular basis, it is disappointing to me that Mark left. It's a huge loss for BYU. I hate the Kentucky hype video he did at Marriott Center. I thought it was a bad look. But the biggest question to me is, can Mark Pope go and replace a guy like John Calipari? And I have no doubt that he can. I have no doubt that the fan base is excited for Mark Pope. I have no doubt that Kentucky fans want to win championships more than they ever have. And that moment is now, because what you don't want to talk about if you're a BYU fan is that Mark Pope is a championship caliber coach. He's the right guy for this job. He's in the right space. He's in the right time. And he's got a very unique skill set where he is going to be able to win at Kentucky. I have no doubt about that. The bigger question for me is, what's next for BYU? Because I think one of the things that you're seeing with Mark Pope is now the reins of the honor code and the culture at BYU are off of Mark Pope. And we're filling Rupp Arena, and he's bringing in the championship Kentucky teams, and he's embracing the fan base, and he's talking about hanging banners, which he never did any of that at BYU, because it's almost impossible to hang banners at BYU basketball. It's impossible to bring back your not having a championship team. It's impossible to recruit the highest caliber of player at BYU. Yet he goes to Kentucky and he dominates. And I don't know that I've ever seen a guy go into a job in college basketball the way he did here and dominate, never having coached a game for Kentucky basketball. What we saw in Lexington over the weekend is nothing short of remarkable. The 1996 championship Kentucky team gets off a bus that they drove into the arena to introduce Mark Pope. Not only that, they used the Chicago Bulls introduction in front of a packed Rupp Arena. Winning. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, and I think there's a couple things at play here that I think are awesome just for conversation's sake. Number one, winning when he won gives him instant credibility walking off the bus, obviously, right? I mean, that goes without saying. I think, a lot of credit to Kentucky's PR team, Kentucky's marketing team, having the vision to do that, deserve a lot of credit, because again, when the Jazz or anybody else does anything like this, we don't get the bus rolling into the arena like swag. So a lot of credit to them for that. Number two, it has to be said at BYU, if you're going to coach that team, the next spot you go to feels like a breath of fresh air, because it feels like you've been muted for however long you were there because of the way they go about business. And again, it's not saying BYU sucks. It's not saying BYU's terrible.
No. It's not even saying that BYU should change, because I don't believe they should change. BYU should not loosen the honor code. And this next hire, whoever it winds up being, the next head basketball coach at BYU should absolutely be a member. There's just nothing else to talk about. There's no other way to even go about it.
I didn't even, but what I'm saying is that for me, it's not even an honor code thing. I just don't see the same fire. And I get it, because he won a championship. It's Kentucky. Okay, there's a lot of built-in stuff there, right? I get that. But I just don't see the same type of fire in BYU basketball, the same type of passion. I'm not saying you got to go out and go against, things like the honor code or the way business is done at BYU. I'm not even saying that. I'm just talking about like pure passion for going out and trying to win ball games. I don't really feel that in the program overall. And so my question and my observation was like, hey, like it feels like Pope is a guy that did really great work. Obviously, getting to the tournament, they had a great season. But this feels like, hey, I'm out now. Cat's out of the bag. It's time to go out and just slay people. And I'm telling you, Kentucky fan, and I'm not quite sure. Obviously, this is the dynamic we always get to at the show where I'm the younger person who maybe doesn't appreciate what was done in the 90s.
Maybe.
Okay, cool. I don't appreciate anything that was done before 2000. Great.
Does that feel cathartic to say that out loud?
Yeah, it does, because I don't think Kentucky gives a damn about Mark Pope's championship. I don't think Kentucky fan in that
I
building.
think you're completely wrong.
Well, I'm happy to be wrong, but I don't think that a 20-something in that building, Rupp Arena, gives a damn about that championship. You know what they care about? They care about the fact that Calipari's gone. Now the boosters are back involved, and they feel like they can go out and get talent and be relevant. That's what they care about. 30-something-year-old remembers the Devin Booker Kentucky teams. We remember. I remember. 100% I remember. But they haven't really been the same.
I'm telling you, if you are a Kentucky basketball fan, and I don't care if you're 5 years old or 105 years old, 1996 was one of the best years of your life. Because, and again, this is going to probably piss people off, but Kentucky basketball is a little different than your basketball. It's why a lot of people wondered, hey, is Scott Drew even a fit at Kentucky?
Mm-hmm.
And why is Mark Pope a fit? Well, because he won a championship in 96. Because he's an alumni. He understands the culture. He understands the fan base. He understands the fit. He understands that this is about one thing for him at Kentucky.
Every coach in America, at every other job in America, stands up at their press conference and they try and moderate expectations. We don't do that here in Kentucky. When Mitch called me and talked to me about being the head coach here at Kentucky, I understand the assignment. We are here to win banners. That's why we're here.
Listen, I don't hate it. Scott Drew would never have done that. I think that having won a championship and having been a part of what arguably is the best season in the history of Kentucky basketball, I get it. I get it. But if you're a BYU fan this morning and you're watching that, it's awfully difficult to digest that. You're never going to be that. And that's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little different in football, but not that much different. And I look at Kentucky, and I think you have to embrace the idea that Kentucky basketball is just a little different. Their arena, they had people who could not get in the arena because it was too full.
Yeah.
Waiting outside because it was too full. For a fucking head coach, not named Drew.
As he so eloquently stated there, a press conference.
It's remarkable. And I agree with Mark Pope. Most guys are like, well, we've got to build the program and we've got to get our recruiting and we've got to bring back the roar of the Kentucky Wildcats.
Please donate.
Okay, we'll see you. We'll see you for the fundraiser. Right? Not this guy. Mark Pope, he's the perfect dude. He is that guy who just understands it. And pressure at Kentucky is real. I think they hit a home run.
Now,
I truly do.
I have to say, when I first saw this video, it does have LeBron 6, 7, 8, 9 championships energy to it. And I love that out of Mark. I get it. I love it. I'm not criticizing him for it. But I just think what's going to be really interesting is how he goes about getting talent. Obviously he's going to have money in the NIL situation, of course. But I think it'll be, I'm just curious to see how long does the reviving Kentucky basketball storyline live? because once you go out and win, now we're talking about what's the message going to be? We just have to keep winning. Like, cause that's why there's so much heat there, because it's like, hey, we're reviving this thing. We're bringing Kentucky back. We're here to win.
He took BYU to the tournament. He won at UVU. This dude can coach.
Yeah.
Like, he is a really good coach.
Yeah.
I hope people understand that. I really hope people understand that Mark Pope's a good coach, man. Like, it's going to be very interesting to see how long does it take him to recruit?
Yeah.
How long does it take him to ramp that up? Because I think that's a very, very interesting question. Very interesting question. Boyd Lake, now Pope has to win with the one and done guys. So hard for him, but it won't be one and dones anymore. And I think this is the interesting part about John Calipari leaving Kentucky, because we're starting to hear the trickle of people that now are saying, like, Kentucky's best case scenario just happened because they could not fire John Calipari. And the Tyson Chicken King came and stole him.
Yeah.
I don't think they are crying a tear over. And what did John Calipari do? Sat up there in a nice suit and suey and.
Yeah.
Is Kentucky basketball better today than they were a week ago today?
100%. Yes.
That's the thing that's amazing.
And again,
that's the thing that's amazing.
To your point, like, I do think Kentucky's one of those blue bloods that, dude, when it's right, like, it is really right. Like, it is energetic. It is full of money. Like,
and they have the NIL commitment. And I think the one and dones are not over with, but with the explosion of NIL and kids staying in college now, because one of the things that I think kids are starting to learn through NIL is that when you've got it good in college, it's tough to beat that your first 5 years in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are a king on campus. When you're a basketball superstar at Kentucky, there's no better living than that. Especially now with NIL, and you're making $5 million a year in NIL as the best player at Kentucky, and you're back to going to the tournament, and you're back to competing for Final Fours, Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, Final Fours. You know how tough it is to beat that living? That's really tough to beat that living. And Kentucky's a destination. It's just John Calipari didn't. I think John needed a change of scenery, because that dude didn't forget how to coach either. But I also remind you, he's in his 60s. Mark Pope is not.
Yeah.
Mark Pope's a young guy that's going to talk about restoring the roar in Kentucky. I think it's absolutely a home run.
And it is, I would agree, proper label. Best case scenario for Kentucky.
Shooter Texas, can't imagine what they would have tried to do with Scott Drew. Can you imagine Scott Drew getting off the bus? Like, no, because he didn't win a championship in 96.
I'm telling you, it's instant credibility. It just works. And I'm sure that there were people in the college basketball world who are like, wait, they hired the BYU head coach? But then once you look at it, you're like, yeah, this makes perfect sense. Totally get it. Totally understand it.
Dakota Tubbs, I don't think Pope will have the same one and done structure that Cal cultivated at Kentucky during his time there. And this is what I was saying about Boyd's comment. Like, the one and done is not your normal reality anymore.
Is UConn suffering from one and done?
I mean, and that's that's what I think we're starting to see, is that as good as San Diego State or FAU was last year, you're starting to see that the Dukes and the Carolinas and the UConns and basketball's coming back.
NIL is restoring the, hey, I'm going to play at a big time program for 4 years.
And there was also a really good story on 247 about Deion's impact on the Colorado basketball program. And I thought it was brilliantly put. Deion restoring the excitement of Colorado football brought Colorado basketball back to the fore. He's playing a role in that. Money matters. I'm telling you, money matters. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Giggity. Hey, Boyd, when has Pope ever been in a position to truly have an opportunity to track one and done guys? Never.
True. That's a fair point.
Never. And look at all of his guys transferring. which hurts. BYU basketball is going to be in a dark time. You had better hire, I think Burgess is the right hire, but you better hire somebody that can recruit the state of Utah, because you are going to need to replenish and fast. You're going to need to replenish fast. RJC Loner Phone, AD at UK caught totally off guard when coach. I disagree. I think the reports now are obviously there was a relationship problem between Cal and Kentucky, and he hadn't been winning enough. And I think they knew they were in a spot where they were not going to be able to let him go.
And what do you mean fumbling higher by getting fifth option? Like,
it's a troll comment. It is what it is.
Guy.
It is what it is. If there's no way you believe this when you watch what happened over the weekend, there's just no way. Christopher Shannon, hello. 23-8 in first season in the Big 12 is pretty darn good, though. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Dakota, loner phone. Are you saying that Kentucky got a loner coach?
Straight from the Kremlin, baby.
Let me get this right. They fumbled hiring Mark Pope. Rupp Arena was full. He drove in a bus with the 96 championship team and talked about hanging banners. Yeah, I don't know how you could have messed that up more.
Dude, what a fumble that was. If that's fumbling, can I just fumble into the paint every time?
So funny to me. That once a troll, always a troll. Brandon Butler, I still think your top tier player's still going to one and done. Flagg isn't sticking around Duke for multiple years. Let's find out.
Did you see what it's going around, though? People have picked up now that he's done some workouts and he's played in front of some bigger eyes. People understand who Cooper Flagg is, which is a all generation, all world defender who needs a lot of work on that shooting form. And I'm not saying he sucks, because he doesn't. He is very capable.
I think Cooper Flagg
project
is a project.
Yeah. Yes.
I think Cooper Flagg will be at Duke several years.
Yeah. And if he does, I could see him being a much better offensive player when he leaves Duke, if he stays a couple years.
He's one of those guys who I think was such a unicorn at his age that's how he got prominent. And then when he started playing up, that last year, and I could be totally wrong about this, I think he was playing against 18-year-olds last year. And that's where some of the cracks in the facade of Cooper kind of came out. And he's grown, and now he clearly has gotten in the weight room. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But I think he's a project, in my opinion. NBA is different. NBA pays players based on potential and age. One and done for NBA is here to stay for the NBA. NBA prefers young talent to build their future on. I think one and dones, the burnout rate, which is to say the flops at the top of the NBA draft in recent years, have been so many that you're having trouble making money as a like Bronny James is going to be an interesting case study, because are you going to get drafted because of who your dad is? Probably. If Bronny James was not LeBron James Jr., he'd still be in college.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even be a conversation. But you kind of start studying the landscape. Look at the percentage of one and dones, because it is going down.
Yeah.
Significantly, to the point where I would remind you, NBA G League teams are shutting down, like G League Ignite, which was wholly owned by the NBA, which its only job was to take kids who didn't want to go to college and prevent them from going to Europe or Australia and keeping them in the NBA pipeline. Scoot Henderson is a notable example. Well, now they shut down the G League Ignite. And why is that? Because they offered, of the kids they offered, 75% of the G League Ignite offers are going to college. Whereas before, like, they were losing kids to IMG Academy. They were losing kids. A lot of young kids went to Australia when Australia had that American boom. They're going to college. And I think you're going to see they're going to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only people outside of Scoot that I could even pull off the top of my head from G League is Ignite is the Thompson twins. Weren't they G League Ignite guys?
Yes.
So I mean, it's really those three who are the big names who have really come out and done something in the league. And I'm just telling you, man, college basketball is a have and have not game, just like anything else. If you have money and you can pay NIL, you're going to compete. And if you can't, you're not going to.
I think it is very difficult when you look at the last really good draft was probably the 2020 draft. Anthony Edwards, superstar. James Wiseman, number 2, complete and total bust.
Yeah.
LaMelo Ball. At this point, the jury's out because the kid can't stay healthy. Patrick Williams, Isaac Okoro, Oneka Ogangwuawe, Killian Hayes, Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin was the 8th pick of the first round.
Busted that pick.
Devin Vassell, good player, at 11. You got to go to Tyrese Halliburton at 12 to find another one. Tyrese Maxey at 21.
But even look at those two guys. Both of those guys are both 4 or 5 year guys before they really started hitting their stride.
But then you start going forward. You look at 2021, Cade Cunningham, injuries. Jalen Green, now starting to emerge.
4 or 5 year guy.
Evan Mobley. Scotty Barnes.
I would say worthy.
Solid, not spectacular.
Yeah.
Jalen Suggs, Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga, Franz Wagner, Davion Mitchell, Zaire Williams. You don't have another all-star in the first round. In fact, you don't have another all-star the remainder of the draft in 2021, one of the worst drafts in the history of the NBA. Okay, well, 2022, now we're talking about, Paolo Banchero.
Stud.
Number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to find me an all-star? Oh, wait, there's not another all-star in that entire draft. I said there's not another all-star in that entire draft. But Monty, look at 2023.
You already know who's popping up in 2023, man.
Victor's the way.
Not a single all-star came out of the 2023 NBA draft. Not one. Now, Victor Wembanyama, clearly a generational talent.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller, we'll find out. Scoot, the Thompson brothers.
I think Brandon Miller is another Jalen Green case.
Anthony Black. Guy. Well, Anthony Black. Oh, wait. I mean, Koulibaly, Walker, Taylor Hendricks for the Jazz. Don't even get me started on the Jazz.
Dude. We ain't even got time for that today.
Probably the best player there is Derek Lively the second. I mean, he below V-Dub, I think you're going to struggle to find somebody.
Right.
So the bust that has been the NBA draft, I think you're starting to see this is why kids are staying in college.
Yeah. Well, and I think the NBA draft gets real strong and really deep when you get into hey, it's become college basketball culture now to be somewhere 3 or 4 years, right? In one program and develop and become a really good player. And now we're getting into the draft.
And I would also point out, the thing that's terrifying about this coming draft? Look at all the foreign players that are going to be taken in the top 10. You should be terrified.
Mm-hmm.
You should be terrified because I look at Alexander Sarr from Australia. Good luck. That's going to be your number 1 pick. I think not close. And then look at that. Rob Dillingham from Kentucky. Okay. Interesting. Reed Shepherd from Kentucky.
Oh.
And then you start getting into all like Stephen Castle. Probably a top 5 player, I would think, right?
Yeah, probably.
I would think. Then Donovan Clingan is a perfect example of a guy that I would not a 10-foot pole. Not a 10, but he's going to go top 10.
Well, I think a lot of people, not to go too deep on it, but a lot of people look at him and say, hey man, this is a much more athletic and usable Rudy Gobert style player. That's what I've seen a lot of.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
You don't have to guard now. You don't have to guard him above the free throw line.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that we're in a position where the NBA draft has completely changed. Completely changed. Why are you guys talking about the spring games? I see a bunch of spring ball. How about little Cam Bam up on the hill there?
Looking just a little good, right? just okay. Yeah, looked really good.
If you're a Utah football fan, are you not excited? The spring games were kind of a bust this year, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're OG Gary and you're a fan of like 50 teams, then that was a whole day for you. But
there hasn't been, and I think a lot of it is they're being very careful, and there's not a whole lot of, is leverage the right word?
Yeah, I mean, reason, like incentive to go out and go hard in the spring game. I mean, I think that, again, it's a glorified practice. Let's be honest, right? And it's great that ESPN has a bunch of this, and God forbid football fans would go even 30 days without a football game on the field, right? But I think if you're a Utah fan, you're really happy. You're an LSU fan, you're really happy. I think that this is the first step for Cam Rising, showing us that he can stay healthy and that he's actually back and that they're actually going to compete in the Big 12.
Well, let's find out when the portal opens tomorrow what happens, because I think that's going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Let's see. Lively is benefiting from going to a great situation. If he's on the Blazers, he's struggling. Very well could be. Very well could be. Mike Smith. Some draft years are better than others. Same applies to the NFL draft. Au contraire.
Yeah, but the problem with that is that the NBA draft has been significantly watered down. There's no doubt.
The NBA draft lottery has become a lose-lose for everybody. I mean, it's become a lose-lose. You are, again, I'll go pick. Let's go. Like, if you look at 2019, okay, let's look at the 2019 NBA draft. Just you can keep going back. It's a trend. It is a trend. You look at Zion Williamson, bust. Ja Morant, bust. Darius Garland at 5. Is really the only other player. So again, I'm asking you, you look at these.
It's really interesting.
Where's the player every year? Oh, well, Monty, some draft, it's not been some drafts. We're talking about 5 years of NBA drafts where more people, significantly more, have busted out.
Yeah.
Than have been successful.
Well, and I think we're having to redefine what actually a legit top 5 pick is, because you look at Zion, and I would even throw John to this given the time he's missed with both off the court issues and some injury stuff. But I feel like we're having to redefine what a true franchise player is. Like, Anthony Edwards is a true franchise player, right? Durable, plays a ton. Like he's in that superstar cut. But like, Zion and Ja, like before the off the court stuff, Ja was not a bust. Ja was 100% legit, like great draft pick, franchise player. And now we're having to wonder, hey, is this guy ever going to stay out of trouble? And we looked at those 2021 draft and 22 draft, and it's like, yeah, cool, man. Like Derek Lively, neat. Like,
but
great.
You even go back to 2018. That's probably the last superstar draft. Number 1, DeAndre Ayton, total bust.
Yeah.
Marvin Bagley III, number 2, total bust. Luka Doncic,
legit.
Jaren Jackson Jr.,
legit,
not a superstar. Trae Young,
by winning standards, he's a bust, but he is a franchise player. He is
all NBA player.
Yeah.
Then it's Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter, Colin Sexton, Kevin Knox, Mikal Bridges.
Colin Sexton.
And then at 11, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Franchise player.
A true, legitimate franchise player.
The third pick of the second round, Jalen Brunson, franchise player. Right? But after that draft, you've got a player here and a player there, and that's it.
I would be remiss if because of where we do this show from, if I didn't say, does it not upset you, Jazz fan, that the Jazz are not prioritizing development right now, given these drafts?
Oh my God.
Given the fact that the pool is so watered down, like given the fact that you're not going to get a franchise the Jazz are notorious for not drafting SGA at 11. You know what I mean? Like not finding that franchise level talent that they can develop into their guy.
You mean like Donovan Mitchell, who they haven't? No, I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it. In all fairness, Donovan's been the same guy in Cleveland he was here, bro. He has not lived up to it. And
Cleveland?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you don't think
he's been the same guy. He's had a good season. He can score, but they're not better for having him on the team.
Well, that's probably true, but he also doesn't have the supporting cast he had here. Like you don't have a Bojan Bogdanović. You don't have in my opinion, what is Cleveland fourth, 48 and 34.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at their stats and you look at who really contributes on that team, I mean, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Karis LeVert, Max Strus. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't have the defensive stalwart.
But dude, he's got the minivan coming off the bench. Come on.
True. It's very true. Tristan Thompson is who you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
All I'm saying is yes, George Niang is on the Cleveland Cavaliers. the Dodge Caravan. They don't have the players around him that they had in Utah. You don't have the Mike Conleys.
Yeah.
You don't have the, Bijan Bagsnatchevich.
Yeah, you don't have the first team
Bijan Bag nothing.
All wing defender buckets bench playing for you.
Yeah, it could be. Chris C, the NBA has become more competitive. Do you see the fight for the playoffs in the Western Conference? OKC are all young prospects that were drafted young to develop, and they sucked for how many years?
Yes.
They're coming into their stride at age 21, 22. Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think you're looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as a legitimate superstar. And obviously Chet has turned into a franchise player. And yeah, no doubt about it. You're exactly right. I mean, I think we'll see. Christopher Shannon, Trae Young's a baller when he's healthy and a terrible teammate. So you have this.
Yes.
He's going to be a tough guy to trade this summer, but we'll see. Shooter Texas, what would you say now about Keonte George? He's getting better. I have always believed he's the best player that they've drafted in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think Keonte was a guy that everybody knew was going to be good. I think that, you could clearly, and that's the other thing too. Like you can see the guys that have that top end talent and just need refinement from a skill standpoint. And the guys who maybe don't have the talent but have the skill, and you can work them in other ways. And I think that, the question is not whether Keonte George was ever going to be productive or not. Mm-hmm. I think that in fact, if memory serves, I believe we said on the show when they drafted him that he was and should be the starting point guard of the team as soon as possible. And that's the part where, and again, not to get too deep into the Jazz, but that's the part that I've disagreed with on this. I guess if we're calling this a rebuild right now, with a development strategy, why are you trying to win games? The idea that you're flirting around playing Kenny Lofton Jr. and winning games at this juncture in the season with the draft coming is absolutely wild to me. Like you let that guy potentially hurt your draft position. And now we're going to,
I think you're lucky to have gotten the A spot.
Yeah. Like you're very lucky, very, very lucky, dude. And so why is it that it took them so long to just throw Keonte into the one and let him make the mistakes and learn and play all those
Taylor
minutes?
Hendricks.
Same deal.
Only playing 40-something games, or Bryce Sensabaugh.
Like, come on, dude. And again, the Walker Kessler situation.
The Walker Kessler, yeah.
Like, good Lord. Go Jazz. Go Yotes. All right. Neat.
RJC Loner Phone. Monty not mentioning how bad an optic it was to be publicly spurned by multiple coaches. Well, just so you know, they weren't publicly spurned. Dude, you get such a hard on for your opinion and you can never back it up. You can never back it up.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about whether or not, I miss the press conference where Scott Drew was like, yeah, I hate Kentucky. I'm staying. Nobody wants a Kentucky job. Where's the public spurning? If anybody wants to let me know where the press conference was, where you had multiple coaches saying, I'm not taking the Kentucky job. I would never go to that shithole. Where was that exactly? Maybe you don't go so far out of your way to say ridiculous stuff that you can't back up.
Yeah.
And maybe you won't be publicly spurning yourself. It's never about the guys you tried to get. Did you get the right guy? And again, I just ask, would Rupp Arena have been full this weekend if Scott Drew had gotten hired? Would the 96 team have gotten off the bus if Scott Drew had gotten hired? Would you have had more fans on the outside than the inside at Rupp Arena over the weekend if Scott? You're at that point where you've kind of joined the Michigan fan thing, where you just say things that I like. What do we even?
Yeah.
I look at the coaches. Where, pick another coach that was a candidate for the Kentucky job, a Dan Hurley. So let me get this right. You just won 2 championships at Kentucky or at UConn. You're going to leave that job for Kentucky. Why would you leave that job for Kentucky?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kentucky's head coaching search was very similar to Alabama's, right? I mean, Alabama, Dan Lanning said no, Sark said no, Buddy in the SIP said no, Lane Kiffin, right? You had loads of dudes who said no, and then they went out and got dude from Washington. So, to me, I don't think I don't think Kentucky was spurned. You know what I think it is? I think there's a shift in personality happening at Kentucky from a big picture standpoint. I think that John Calipari did amazing things at Kentucky.
Billy Donovan,
another example, right? Billy Donovan, another name, and would have been a fine hire. I don't think anyone would have criticized them for hiring Billy Donovan, but I think that the thing that is happening that I don't think guys like RJC Loner Phone understand is that Kentucky's going through a rebirth in a sense that John Calipari did great things, but because of the contract, he was there too long. He got stale. They had to move.
I would hope that you'd be going after Dan Hurley,
the best of the best.
I would hope that you'd be going after the elite coaches in college back, because you're Kentucky.
Yes,
you're Kentucky. Stop being a troll. Stop being a troll. Mike Smith donates 1 Monty Show member.
Am I allowed to play it this time, or?
I'm just waiting.
Oh, okay.
Mike Smith donates 1 Monty Show membership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And good morning to you, Shouty, he says. Brady Cook, I just feel like Ryan Smith doesn't care about winning, also making money. I think Ryan Smith is a paper billionaire. He's a straw man. Ryan Smith is not. What has he done to make you believe? Here's the real kick in the cock. If you're a Jazz fan, What are you going to do when he wins a Stanley Cup with the Coyotes before the Jazz even make the playoffs? What are you going to do? Because if they truly wind up putting the Coyotes here, which it looks like that's a done deal, and we as taxpayers pay him billions of dollars, he builds a new arena, they win a championship, or they can, let's say that they go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Will he have paid for another free agent for the Jazz? Will RSL have competed? I'm going to guess he won't.
But the building will be redone.
He'll have a new building. He'll be making new money. But will the Jazz be a competitive team?
By the way, how long is it going to take to do this, supposed renovation project of downtown? Because that ain't happening in a year like the building.
I'm telling you. It is what it is.
And I was thinking about this over the weekend. You ever notice that the guys like the Ballmers of the world, with the Clippers as an example, you ever notice that those guys can just pretty much make happen what they want to make happen, repeatedly? that's not the Ryan Smith situation. And I think that Ballmer and any of these other dudes are able to move because they actually have the liquidity to move.
As much as I don't believe that Arizona is a hockey market, I just don't think there's a passion for it there. I don't believe there's a passion for the NHL in Utah. I don't. I again just continue to tell you, the problem in Arizona is not the Coyotes and their 7,500 owners that they've had. Municipalities in Arizona understand they've got to pay for fucking water. They can't be paying for stadiums, so they're not going to.
Yeah.
Municipalities in Arizona understand that they have a problem with resources. The problem in Utah is our municipalities don't understand that we have a problem with resources.
Yeah.
Our municipalities don't understand that there's flooding on the Jordan River because the water table is so destroyed from all the new houses we're building. Oh, but Monty, we're behind on housing. We're behind on affordable housing.
Yeah.
We're not behind on $600,000 to $800,000 houses. But thankfully, we'll have a new arena for the Jazz and the whatever they're going to call the Coyotes, and it's going to be neat and lots of fun. That's great.
And the building will do well. Everybody wants to go see the new circus in town, 100%.
I think the first 3 to 5 years, it'll be great. What happens when Ryan Smith stops spending money, which is what he does, he has not invested a dime into the talent of this Jazz team.
Yeah.
Where's the investment? Where's Ryan Smith doing anything possible to be something other than Gail Miller? Because she was a better owner than he's been.
And maybe we just misunderstood what Ryan said, right? I mean, Ryan did say, hey, we're trying to carry the torch, right? We're picking up the torch from the Millers. We're trying to represent them well and keep this organization moving forward. Well, maybe we mistook that. Maybe we thought he meant that he was going to try and win, when in the reality, he was just going to strip it down and move along.
I think it is very interesting that when you look at Ryan Smith, and I didn't want to talk about this today. I specifically did not want to talk about this bullshit
it's inevitable.
Today.
It's inevitable.
And here we are.
It's inevitable because as sports fans, what happened this weekend? Honestly, it is inevitable to talk about the Yotes and Ryan Smith because of what happened in sports over the weekend with Kentucky and everything that's changing in the landscape, right? You look at these different situations, and again, because it involves BYU, Salt Lake City sports fan, or Utah sports fan, if you will, sports fan that lives in the state of Utah, is forced to say, well, damn, well, BYU's out a head coach for basketball anyway. All right, well, what about the Jazz? Are the Jazz, maybe I can, we'll put BYU basketball on the back burner, let them figure their stuff out. Let's watch the Jazz. Oh, well, the Jazz aren't doing good. Well, then where are we going to go? Well, I'm a BYU fan. Not me, but if you're a BYU fan, you're not going to root for Utah football, obviously. So you're forced into it.
Steve Ballmer's interesting to me. They did not put money into, they did not ask for public money. And I'm pretty sure, I should look it up before I rub my mouth, but I'm pretty sure he also dumped $100 million into the community around his new stadium.
Yeah.
Of his own money. I just think that you have to, in my opinion, do what the Cronkies did, which is pay for your own goddamn stadium at SoFi. What Ballmer did. Oh, wait, those are real billionaires. Never mind. My bad.
And by the way, I'd also point out, do you see the kind of what should we call it, carriage that they get with the fan base because they use their own money? He can say, the Ballmer group can say, hey, we're building you a new stadium with our money. We're improving the community.
And here's $100 million to help your community.
Like,
on top of the stadium, here's another $100 million.
I can't emphasize how different it is to do that versus going to your legislature where it's all built in.
He's such a good person. He's in the church. Oh my God. Ryan Smith is great. Did you see Ryan the bro with his hat backwards?
What's the Bible quote going to be this week, dude? I'm so sick and tired of it.
I'm just at a point where I'm tired of hearing about how Like, we had a bunch of people DM us about what we said about the church.
Yeah.
I must have gotten 7 or 8 DMs about how I don't understand that the church has put billions of dollars into the community. Okay, over its history, the church has donated billions of dollars, millions of dollars to homeless initiatives. They have done that. Yet here we are giving them zero heat over their land deals, zero heat over their tax shelters, zero heat over the fact that we have no idea how much that organization makes and how they spend it. But we do know that there's addicted people quite literally laying on the streets around Temple Square. It's great you're giving millions to homeless people. What are you doing about downtown? Oh, that's right. We're giving more public tax money to Ryan Smith and the Jazz. So we'll just gentrify it a little more. Now, all of a sudden, the homeless drug addicted guy that's got a needle laying on the ground next to him, now he's further south into South Salt Lake. Now he's further north into North Salt Lake. That's a North Salt Lake. That's a West Valley City problem.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but did you see the new building Ryan Smith built downtown? Dollars to donuts. What do you want to bet, Ryan Smith? Oh, look at Ryan Smith's new stadium downtown. Billionaire, owner of the Yotes and the Jazz. If he's a billionaire, why does he need handouts? If Ryan Smith is this connected guy on Silicon Slopes, why does he need handouts? If he's a tech genius with relationships, why does he need public handouts? What's he doing for the water problem we have here? What's he doing for the air quality problem we have here? What's he doing for the fentanyl addiction that is quite literally murking our young generations in the state of Utah? Nothing. Not a fucking thing. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
But is he taking our 0.5% sales tax to make him more money? He is. He is. Are the Jazz winning? They're not. The savior of the Utah Jazz, Ryan Smith, hat bro, backwards. He's on the Pat McAfee show. Oh, and everybody ripped me when I said, when he went on the Pat McAfee show, you guys are the hottest team in the NBA. Bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
No, you're not. You're the 8th. You're slotted 8th in the draft again.
Yeah.
But take our public money. Please have it. Just leave those drug addicted guys. Yeah, it's fine too, because they're going to be so dehydrated because we're not going to have any drinking water here.
Don't worry about it.
It'll be fine.
Don't worry about it.
And then we're going to pay the Millers to build a baseball stadium where there's not going to be a Major League Baseball team. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Notice nobody talked about the fact that the A's aren't coming to Salt Lake. And notice that just flew under the radar.
We'll be fine. We're fine. We're giving billionaires billions of dollars. And we can't afford, most people here can't afford to buy a house. Oh, but money. There is no but money. Oh, look at all the new houses that are $800,000. Who can afford that? Where's the, oh, but we did it. That's right. The Tangerine man did a tax thing to save everybody, right? No. Why is Ryan Smith in business? Because he got tax breaks. Don't sell me on what this is going to do for our community, because it's not.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that money, the 0.5% sales tax, couldn't go to building affordable housing, couldn't go to land management and issues with our air quality and our homeless and our addicted and our kids and our, I don't know. I'll say it again. I will say it again. Pay teachers more money.
Yeah.
Pay nurses more money. Pay cops more money. Pay first responders more money. Help our veterans that are struggling with PTSD. Help our veterans that are struggling to find jobs. Take your 0.5% sales tax away from Ryan Smith and put it where it's needed.
And I love the assertion that just because the Salt Lake Valley is growing, that we have to have more major sports teams. That somehow that there's a correlation between, oh, well, more people live here, so at some point we're going to have to add sports teams. I don't agree with that. I think that to add a sports team, you got to have justification for that. And again, not once have Ryan Smith Entertainment Group, the Utah Jazz, anybody related to him ever put out a study that has said that, hey, we pulled, 10,000 Salt Lake residents or whatever. And they all said, yeah, we would love to have
Got to have the
team.
NHL here. Got to have it. That doesn't exist.
And I agree. It should be called a handout. It should be called a handout because
what else is it?
Legit? Well, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, it went through the legislature and, went through the proper process. But if you're actually having a fair and honest conversation, it was always going to go through the legislature and it was always going to get passed.
And it was never going to go to a public vote.
Yeah. Because why is that? Because he knows he doesn't have the support, just the same way he knows he doesn't have enough money to do this on his own. To which I say, you're doing this the wrong way. And to which I say, yet again, and I know it might seem silly, Ryan Smith still does not have the courage to come on this show. And I don't give a damn if that upsets anybody.
And he won't. And the good news is O.J. Simpson's dead.
Yes. See? Progress.
How about that transition? O.J.'s dead.
Yeah.
And just because a prick never dies.
Uh-huh.
Do you see what O.J. Simpson's estate said?
Dude,
you want to talk about staying on brand even after you died from prostate cancer. The original axe murderer, well, not original, but the only one we care about, that knife wielding fool, in my opinion, Oj, him or his son, who knows? I love how TikTok's full of OJ's son did it. Anyway. So he's got a $30 million judgment against him from Nicole Brown's family, and the Goldmans. O.J. Simpson's estate attorney said he is not going to go down easily on this $30 million judgment. And he will do everything in his power to prevent the Goldmans from getting 1 red cent of the money that they are owed. So let me get this right. From the grave, OJ is still trying to stick it to old man Goldman. The other best part about this is we now know that the will and estate that he filed, if you challenge his will, you get $1 and nothing else. Anybody who challenges his will, the most you can get is $1 and nothing else. It's going to be interesting, man. Let's see what happens, because he's got a $1 million home in Las Vegas, which is where he was living, and he's got pensions that they still to this day can't touch. But it'll be interesting to see, like, if they sell his possessions and they sell his house, who got the house? And if he willed that house to his kids, will they have the balls to sell it?
Because somebody would buy it.
Because if they sell it, where's that money going?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to pay that judgment. I'm very curious to see how this is all going to go.
Well, and I still think the best modern day Oj concept was the fact that he tried to sell everybody that the real killer was still out there. That is still by far the best wild OJ thing he ever said. Dude.
Do you guys understand the news cycle today? So let me get this right. A former president is going on criminal trial today. OJ's still trying to stick it to Ron Goldman's dad from the grave. And where are we at in the society today?
We're on the precipice of World War III, allegedly.
Yeah, and then there's that.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all going to war.
Yeah.
Let them blow themselves up. I'm not interested.
Where are we at in society today?
Let them blow themselves up.
Oh, Monty, I got the DJI drone out, and
Sorry, dude. And I understand that we're supposed to be just like to the end with Israel. Let them blow themselves up. If you want to go fight Iran, hey, man, knock yourself out. I'm out. Right? I'm not interested in getting involved in that. Again, We've got existential crisis after existential crisis in this country. Let's get some shit done here first.
Yeah.
Then let's go fight with people who, no matter what the outcome is, are going to continue to fight with people.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not here for it. This news cycle is wild to me. And the fact that OJ is still trying to fuck the Goldmans from the grave is amazing.
What's up, motherfuckers?
I mean, the balls on this guy. That you had your probate attorney ready to say, well, we're sorry for all that shit that went down, but Ron Goldman and your dad Fred can go fuck themselves.
We did what we did.
Well, Ron can't because your guy murdered him. That's not my point here. That's not.
He got murked.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Jeremy Bolton.
Whoa.
OJ should write a book about how he would have done it. If he would have done it. Oh wait, that's why he's. So, if I had done it, he wrote a book basically saying if I'd have done it, the Goldman sued and won control of that book and took all the money from it. That's why this probate attorney's pissed. It's wild. Mayor, where the have you been?
Yeah.
Where have you been?
Yeah, headband.
Come on now.
McCluskey.
Headband McCluskey, exactly right.
I missed that show.
I missed that show too. I think our news cycle is as weird as I have ever seen.
Yeah, I legitimately, though, all jokes aside, I don't know what the deal is with this stuff out east. I think that there's danger there for our country, no doubt about it, and it needs to be handled properly.
The problem with things like Israel versus Iran, there's no winning. We all love to flex our muscles. We're going to go win. We're going to drop bombs. Cool. And then you're going to pay to rebuild that shit. And then 5 years from now, we're going to drop more bombs. It's an endless cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Repeating itself over and over again.
Yeah. No doubt.
And beyond the atrocities we've seen in Palestine, beyond what's going on in Ukraine, in Russia, you look around the world, these are people who are pissed for a living. They've been upset. They've been at war. They've been murdering each other
for ages,
for lifetimes.
Yeah.
We're not fixing this. So why? Oh, American fighters are on standby. Why?
Well, I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, the implications of Iran versus Israel, gas prices, and all this other stuff. And I tend to agree, these two are going to fight now. They were fighting before, and they're going to fight in the future. And I think our only job as a country is to make sure that we limit the damage to ourselves and we don't get too involved. And I think, it's the whole argument that everyone gets all pissed off about with the Ukraine situation, right? Which is, hey, we're as a country right now under current leadership, and I'm not saying we would have done this under prior leadership, but under current leadership, we're mitigating, as I call it. We are saying, hey, this is what we can do without directly getting involved in military conflict to mitigate. And that's all we're doing. And, it's a very fine line. You got to be careful with that stuff.
You cannot overlook what's happened in Palestine. You cannot overlook the atrocities and the war crimes that have been created, that have been forged against those people. It's not. We have nothing to. We don't belong there.
Agreed.
We don't belong there.
It is a let them eat situation, and don't do anything about it until it starts having implications at home. That's it.
And when we vote for the two old men this fall, just remember, that's why we're in the situation we're in. Because young people have no desire to be politicians. And why? Can you blame them? Can you blame them? Young people, millennials.
Yeah, millennials and Gen Z.
Millennials, we needed millennials to be something other than what they are. And I just don't think we're going to get that for another decade at least. I think we're going to have millennials into their 50s and 60s before we see substantive, real change. I can't blame them. We did it. My generation did it. What am I, Gen X,
Gen X,
I guess.
yeah.
We did it. It's our fault. Right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
But when we go to the ballot box this fall and we vote for one of the two old men, don't get it twisted. This is our fault because we're going to vote for president, but we won't vote for mayor. And I just continue every day on this show. I guess I'm going to say it. If you're going to vote only local or national, please vote local. Change the people who can impact your life, right? Because you can't tell me that Joe Biden or Donald Trump give a shit about what happens in our houses. They don't. They do not. They just don't. They're not here to make sure that, the middle class. Does the middle class exist anymore?
No.
Right? We're talking about a tax. We have a tax system in this country that favors the rich. We are deploying the IRS against people who make $50,000 a year. But yet we're giving taxes to Ryan Smith to build new stadiums. We're broken. And we need young people, 30, 40, 50-year-olds, to do something about it. Not when they're 50, when they're 30. We need the Gen Zs, the millennials. We need that group of people to be empowered to go and change the world. But they're not, because the billionaires who keep building shit to help themselves keep knocking the young people down. Why would you, if you're a 25-year-old college graduate, let's say, are you more interested in being a social media influencer or the president of the United States? You know the answer already. You know the answer.
Just a quick little sidebar about our little Ryan Smith not spending on the Jazz.
Yeah.
The Phoenix Suns have extended Grayson Allen on a 4-year, $70 million deal. Matt Ishbia, the owner of the Suns, is now on the hook for $100 million in luxury tax, being that the Suns' payroll is $206 million. So don't tell me that Ryan Smith is the same billionaire the way Matt Ishbia is, or the way that these other dudes
wild.
are. Because this dude is flat out spending.
It's wild to me. It is wild to me.
And by the way, this dude is not like Ballmer. This dude is young. This dude is Ryan Smith's ilk. This dude runs in the same circles. And yet here we are.
Yeah, I don't even, yeah. Anyway, let's see. Ron Loney apparently has been going off in the comments, I've been told. The foxhole Joe wants to put me in, mostly peaceful Democrats. Okay.
Whatever that means.
Millennials can't tie their own shoes either. Right. Well, always average to
Ron,
see.
Really?
Locals are far more impactful than nationals, and it's not close.
Yeah.
It's not close. Dakota Tubbs, millennials can't tell who is a man or a woman. See, it's shit like that. Here's my question. Why do you care? Why are we making transgender jokes in the comment section? Why do you care? What impact does that have on your life, man? Why do you care? Why does it always go to LGBTQ jokes in the comment section? Do you guys understand why people don't want to have conversations with you? Because of shit like that. Unmembers yourself, dude. Like this shit right here, I have no interest in this. I'm just going to tell you that right fucking now. I don't want this on my show. I'm not interested in it, Dakota. If this is how you truly feel, get the fuck out. I'm not interested in it, man. Why do you care so much? Why are you here to make people feel worse about themselves? Why? I don't. Why can't we have a normal conversation without going to demented Joe Biden or the LGBTQ community? Get the fuck out. I don't care. I don't care. It impacts you zero. It impacts you zero. Yet you can't help yourself. And I don't get it. I do not understand it. I'm over making people feel bad about themselves.
Yeah.
Yet this is what we want to do. We're sitting here talking about taxes, and Ron Loney's losing his shit over Joe Biden. Get out. Get out. I don't want you here. I don't. I want to have normal conversations without trying to segregate people and make them feel bad about themselves. I want to have normal conversations about why you should be voting in your local election instead of demented Joe Biden. When your fucking guy is on trial today, and I'm sure Wasikowski's here somewhere talking about how it's corrupt, why can't we have real conversations? Why are we attacking people? Why are we trying to make people feel bad about themselves? Because that's what this is right here. And I'm not interested in it. Leave. 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 If this is you, and again, this is probably bad for my business. If this is you, don't come back. Because I'm not interested in it. I'd rather have 0 subscribers than have this shit on my show. And Dakota, I'm talking directly to you. As somebody who's in our members only chat, this kind of comment, I'm not here for it. I'm telling you now, I am so tired of the division in this country. We can't have a conversation without millennials. Millennials can't tell who is a man or a woman. Get the fuck out. As plainly as I can say it. I'm not interested in it. Yet every time this comes up from the guy who defends Vladimir Putin, it's you. Do you understand it's a punchline on this show that you believe we need to know what his perspective is on world happenings? This is not who we are. This is not who we are. Sorry, man. It's just not. I can't understand it. I cannot understand it. Ron Loney impacts me a whole lot. Ready to go to World War III. Dude, you're so out of touch with the reality of the world when you make statements like this. Like, it's stuff like this that is wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to me. Robert, and whose fault is it that it's the politicians, the people who vote for the president, who we won't vote out? Like, do you understand where we are in this country? We don't like each other.
Incredible.
You're worried about World War III? You probably ought to be more worried about a civil war.
Yeah, you're worried about you're out here in the comments section worried about which bathroom people are using.
Man, I just can't.
Like, we got way bigger problems than that, bro.
You're so pissed off that bathrooms are gender neutral that you're forgetting. Like, I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed by it. I don't understand why we have to attack people based on who they believe they are. Why is that what we do now? Why is that what we do now? I don't get it. Mike Chase, get them, Monty. We all need to care about one another, and it belittles people for beliefs or how they are. I want to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the ultimate hypocrisy of it is, like, you know, when we go down the rabbit hole of making jokes,
it's not funny.
It's not funny, and I think that it's really interesting to me. You know, we talked a lot about Scottie Scheffler and his beliefs earlier in the show about the Masters. You notice that Scottie just talks about what he believes. He's not talking about other people. He's not talking about, like, what bathroom you're using. And I respect him for that. Those are his beliefs. So we crossed the line. My point here is we crossed the line when we start talking about, like, hey, like, millennials or this generation or that generation doesn't know the difference between a man or a woman, or, like, just all this stuff that isn't applicable. I'm
tired of everything being Trump's fault. Everything's Biden's fault. Everything's the Democrats' fault. Everything's the Republicans' fault. Everything's our fault because we're not doing anything to change it.
Yeah.
We don't care about the person next door. And again, it's a microcosm. This Ryan Smith conversation today. We're giving a billionaire billions of dollars, but we won't help the guy that's a drug addict or homeless. We won't help people own homes. so that they're not paying exorbitant rents.
Well, and I think it goes a step further, man. I help them. I don't even think we want to talk about it. I don't even think that we want to even acknowledge it. Like, it's one thing in life to say, to talk about it and acknowledge it and like really have a fair conversation about it and to do nothing. But to not even be willing to talk about it or acknowledge the issue is a completely separate thing. And I feel like it's I don't know, man. I just think that if you when you're talking about generations of people and you think that the entire generation doesn't know the difference or thinks this or that, like, that's just I just struggle with that.
You know what bothers me every time we talk about something like this, and it's why we don't do it often. You know what hurts me? I don't believe it'll ever change. I don't believe I think we've gone too far now.
Mm-hmm.
We will never be Americans again. We will be Democrats. We'll be Republicans, conservatives, liberals, like trans. Do you know how many Asian people in this country? My wife and I are watching the Masters yesterday. And Colin Morikawa's contending on the front nine.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the fact that if somebody that looks like Colin Morikawa looks, an Asian person wins the Masters, what that would mean for young Asian people in this country.
Yeah, I mean, Hideki Matsuyama won it several years ago, and there was a whole thing about how impactful it was. And yet I feel like we've just forgotten how divisive the pandemic was for the Asian community. Like, with all the things that were said.
All the things that were done. Like all the violence against Asian people. Try being black in this country to this day.
Yeah.
Try being brown skin in this country to this day.
Yeah.
Yet, anyway, we need to worry about each other. At some point, it's got to come back to, hey, what are we going to do to help our neighbor? What are we going to do to help our fellow American? Because we're not doing that. We are not doing, look what we do to police in this country. And I'm not saying the police are perfect. Look what we do to first responders. Look what we do to veterans in this country. We don't. Anyway. Dakota, I'm a millennial. I can't make jokes about my own generation. No, because you weren't making a joke about millennials. You know it, and I know it. OG Gary, we have a mental illness issue in our country that needs to be addressed. There are mad issues we have. We don't need to talk about the distractions like LGBTQ or oil versus EV. Let's talk about real issues. Mental health is a huge problem in this country.
100%.
I agree with that.
100%.
Elaine Tran, hello. We are Americans too. The Asian American community in this country.
Yes, it's like the assertion is somehow that because they're of Asian descent that they're not Americans. That's crazy to me.
Well, we blamed the coronavirus on Asian people. Not the Chinese, not Japanese, not Koreans, Asian people. Because that's what we do. That's exactly what we do. Tanner Plummer, in other news, Kentucky just had a fourth player decommit from their program. What's wrong with that? Do you really think that Calipari's guys are going to stay and play for Mark Pope? Like, BYU's going to have more players decommit. You got to wait and see who the new head coach is.
Yeah.
Because if it's not stylistically a fit for you, Sean Mierzinski, no, you're right about that. My dad was a firefighter, medic, first responder in general are way overlooked.
100%.
Not thought about.
100%, dude.
Absolutely. Mike Smith, if people blamed you, Elaine Tran, you can give them the here's your sign treatment. Well, there is that. Jeremy Bolton, I thought it was Gobert who started the Rona. I believe that it is. The coronavirus. Right. I think that's right. I probably got a little too upset.
I don't think you got too upset. I think that, I think that, there are limits on the show. There are limits to things you can say. And no, Dakota, I'm going to second this. I don't believe you were making a joke about millennials, and I'm a millennial, and I don't think that that's what you were doing. I think that you were using the millennial generation as a cover to make a LGBTQ joke because you are conservative and a little bit of a different thinker, bro. And I disagree.
Which I don't have a problem with that.
I disagree with a lot of the things you say and a lot of your opinions. I don't think you're a bad dude, but your ass is going to get lit on fire when you say shit like that.
You can say pretty much anything you want. Usually the comment section regulates itself. But I think sometimes we get into these discussions about Democrats and Republicans and we can't control ourselves.
100%.
And I just don't understand that. Let people live their lives. Let people, we too often, and as men, we're particularly guilty of this. We comment about the way women look all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's spilled over into, hey, whatever, the way a black guy looks, the way a white guy looks, the way an Asian person looks. We attack people for the way they look. Because black people, again, the cop speeding ticket thing. If you are a black person in this country, if you get pulled over, put your hands on the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a joke. That's real life.
Yeah.
If you're an Asian person in our country, you're the one who started coronavirus. So in New York City, we're going to walk up to you and just punch you in the face.
Apparently.
Like during the pandemic and right after the pandemic, you have elderly Asian folks walking down the street and you have people walking up to them and just quite literally punching them in the face out of nowhere for no reason. Crazy to me.
But somehow it's okay because,
Can't do it. Mike Smith, sadly, the everyone looks the same mentality is still strong. Yeah. Elaine Tran, I'm glad Monty brought it up. I probably lost my mind a little bit on it, but which is fine.
But look, I think that, again, just the same way we don't want to talk about things is the same way we don't want to have an honest reaction. That is the honest reaction. That is again, I just don't think there's any need to say that. And again, for the record, so the rest of the week, this doesn't get brought up. I'm not saying Dakota's a bad dude. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there are limits and those limits will be enforced. And I think that you can't. I'm just telling you, man, whether it's this show or in life, it is the wrong thing to do to joke about how someone views themselves or interprets what their body's doing or what bathroom they should use or whatever. Like, I just wouldn't walk into that territory. There are so many other things to talk about.
Fat Jesus, making fun of ugly people is my privilege as a good-looking person. Levity. See, yes, he's attacking Jake, but there's comedy and humor behind it. Levity.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, good.
Tomorrow on the show, we will have a full NBA playoff. I don't know if I call it a preview. An NBA something. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Bye, Jake.